I used FL Studio for 8 years and I came across Native Instrument Maschine, and ever since then, I have never gone back to FL Studio. Does that mean FL Studio is bad? Well, welcome to Music Noir. If you have not subscribed, please do subscribe, hit the like button, and share. I started using FL Studio in 2011. I was when I started learning music production. So then I had friends that were using Cubase and Nuendo, but I just didn't like Cubase or Nuendo. It just looked very boring to me. You know, kind of looks like Microsoft Word, and I didn't like that. And FL Studio then, FL Studio 9 looked much attractive to me. So I saw a friend using it. Shout out to Numi, by the way. He was the one that was using it. And then I got interested. Although before then, I was already into music. I was a session musician, and I was playing for, in church services. So I hopped in. And since then, I have never stopped using it until about a year and a half ago. Like I said earlier, when I came across a Maschine. So I used FL Studio extensively on sequencing, programming, mixing, recording, mastering, on everything. I used FL Studio on everything. But there were a couple of limitations, and after I had loaded some plugins, especially Waves plugin, the program would get stuck, and then I would have to restart from my task manager, and it's kind of very frustrating. And then I noticed that some VST plugins were not loading very well. At the time, I started using FL Studio on iMac 5K, and there was this big problem with display of plugins. Most plugins were not scaling well on the 5K monitor, on a 5K screen, and that was a big problem for me. They appeared too small, and even still at that, the plugins, mixing plugins, will still Waves plugin would still get stuck. The project would just hang, and I would always have to restart. It was after then I came across Maschine and Cakewalk. Now, Maschine is just a beat making software. But why did I switch from FL Studio to Maschine? It wasn't too difficult for me because prior to that time, I was already using Cakewalk, and I was beginning to do more of my mixing jobs on Cakewalk by BandLab. And so I just needed, although I could do instrumentals on Cakewalk, but it's kind of, it's a little bit complicated. But so coming to find Maschine was like a saving grace, because I liked it. Maschine was more organized, I kind of like the interface better, and the sound, the fact that I can use contact instruments directly from there without having to install, without having to go through the stress of installing some contact softwares that wouldn't work. So I could run it directly on Maschine, and everything was smooth. After switching to Maschine, I discovered that there were a couple of disadvantages too. Let me put it that way, because normally I would load FL Studio. Just let me show you here. I would load FL Studio just straight away, and it would just load without having to run any scan. And I really liked that. That was one thing I also liked about Cakewalk by BandLab. It just loads direct, and I hope most of these DAW companies, DAW make, what should I call them? software makers, whatever, can emulate this. It's just very smooth. Doesn't have to load the whole thing. That thing is boring. Although Maschine does that, and that's one of those things I don't like about it. I'm gonna come back to a lot of those things I don't like about Maschine. But Maschine, on the other hand, if I close it right now, I'm gonna have to wait for, I don't know, maybe 2-3 minutes before I can use it, because I have a lot of contact instruments and samples. So it has to load everything, and that's really horrible. By the way, that was one of those things I didn't like about Cubase also. So you see, the two workstations have a couple of differences and similarities, and I'm going to walk you through that. Let's start with FL Studio. When you open FL Studio, it's going to look like this. Here is the sequencer on FL Studio. And on Maschine, right here is the sequencer, just like this. So you can bring in sounds. Let's try kick. Can bring in, and of course on FL Studio, let's bring in something. So just like that. It's almost the same thing. You can arrange stuffs like that. Let's play. Maschine, it's the same thing. You have to double click instead of the single click on FL Studio. So they are very similar. Similar, sorry. They're very similar. All right. And on FL Studio here, it's the playlist. This one is called a playlist. Okay. The playlist. And on Maschine, it's right here, just like FL Studio. It's the song. Yeah, the song. Let me check. I think, yeah, song, something like that. So you can arrange your scene. Okay. So instead of pattern, actually, pattern on Maschine means something else. Not, okay, sorry. So we have the pattern, so we can have a pattern just like that. Let me take that again. So you can create a pattern. We have one already. You can put it there. So this pattern is what I'm putting here. So I can put the same pattern here on the next bar. Yeah, on the next bar. So if I want to play everything, I just, sorry. Take this back. So that's a song. On FL Studio, it's the same thing. So although it's easy on FL Studio for people that are just getting to know, to learn Maschine. So click here and play. On FL Studio, there is a mixer. Although the mixer on FL Studio is way advanced. You can do a lot of things on this mixer. Mix audio tracks. Oh, yes, you can mix audio tracks on Maschine also, but it's kind of limited. The audio tracks you can mix are those ones you use. There are audio samples that you use for making beats. Just short audio tracks. But on FL Studio, you can do a full song mix down with this mixer. It's a nice mixer though, and also you can do some mastering on it, and it's really good. Supports VST plugins. 32 bits and 64 bits depending on your computer. So that's one big advantage of FL Studio over Maschine. I wish Native Instruments could just give us at least one track for recording audio. Please, Native Instrument, please, just give us one track. Stereo channel for audio recording, where we can record audio from the beginning of the song till the end. please, it's very important because sometimes you work on Maschine uh and you want to add some vibes to what you're working recording the beat. Sorry, you want to add some vibes to the beat you're making, but you always have to export it to another DAW, and then But I still love Maschine, by the way. So why do I prefer Maschine to FL Studio? Very simple. Maschine is better organized than FL Studio. Although FL Studio has the sound, the samples here, also, but coming to the sound library here, the instrument, rather, look at it. Everything is just well arranged. You have the drums, the piano, the keys, the guitar. The graphical interface is much better. And of course, the sounds they're really amazing. So I can bring. Let's try this Cuba. So just like that, and I don't have to worry about the resolution of the plugins. They appear really well, unlike FL Studio where I have to start looking for what's that thing again. I think I have to I can't remember. There was something I used to do, but I've not been using it for a while now, so because I just dumped it. I think whenever a plugin appeared really small, I always had to come here. Let's see if I can. Seems this plugin doesn't have it. Okay, this one should have it. So just in case you have a plugin that is appearing very, very tiny or small, if you have a 4K monitor, so just come to processing and make bridge. Yeah, I used to come there, most of the time. That's kind of frustrating because some plugins they don't just work really well. They don't just display well after doing that, and so it's one of those things that that made me didn't want to use FL Studio anymore. So that's just it. And Maschine also comes with you can buy a hardware, Maschine Studio, Maschine, I think MK3. There are a couple of Maschine hardwares that you can connect directly, and you can control everything. Even without having to look at your computer, you can make a complete instrumental from your hardware. I have one right here, Maschine Studio. So I don't have to look at my screen. I can make a complete beat. In fact, that's one major advantage. Apart from the Maschine Studio, I also have a complete control 88 keys, and I can control my sound, everything, sound selection, pick a sound from the MIDI controller, and everything. It's just everything is just so simple and so nice. So if you're already killing it on FL Studio, it's okay. Stay with FL Studio. But if you want to learn more, discover new things, I think you should try Maschine. It's very nice. You're going to love it. I really hope you guys have been able to learn one or two things from this video. Please let me know in the comment section what you think. If you think FL Studio is better, okay. If you think Maschine is better, just leave it in the comment section, okay. And thank you for this video. Please subscribe, share, and like this video. See you next time.